Hey everybody, this is Perch. How you doing? We don't talk enough. Or, you know what? That doesn't feel natural. There's a trend with a lot of podcasts where like the guy comes on and he's like, "So how's your day?" My day was pretty, and like they get into his personal stuff, and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up and tell me about digital disruption." We already like I came here for cloud hosting, and you're telling me that you've got a case of herpes. Like I'm not in the mood. Anyway, speaking of herpes, here's a mail. Is From the Ashes DOA. Now, From the Ashes, of course, is the new imprint for the X lineup. This is the Tom Brevoort X era, and with any luck, it will be the Tom Brevoort X era. But let's see what the mail got. It says, "Dear Perch, I have been following all the From the Ashes announcements, and everything about it just makes me think it's dead on arrival." Okay. I understand that feeling. It is. It's like a monkey's paw. It's like the Krakoa era was. It felt like creatively nobody had anywhere to go. By the way, you say it to the hardcore X-Men fans who've been liking, and I say X-Men fans, so that's in quotes, and instead of a S, it's a Z at the end of fans. But people talk about there was just not much going on with Krakoa. The villains had all been reduced to angry fascist humans with robots are doing shit. I mean, like one of the bigger villains had become MODOK somehow. Like you don't know, like how did we get here? And then the island was like, and with the resurrection stuff, it's like, nobody can die, and now we're just fucking around with nonsense. Anyway, sorry, I'm gonna go back to the mail. It says, "We all know that most of the line is not going to make it to 12 issues, and there's nothing in it that really builds hype. In fact, I don't think there's any real hype for it at all. It's just there. I don't know how else to explain it. Feels like it's going to be an era that isn't going to be remembered. This is an era which will have 9 titles ongoing within a couple months. An era where they're trying to do more solo books for characters when few outside of Wolverine and Cable can really carry a title, which makes sense considering Brevoort's background with the Avengers, but it's not likely to succeed. In many ways, this is the embodiment of Marvel's issues as a whole. A line much bigger than it really needs to be, writers that don't really move books but still get work because they answer their emails. 2024 has been the biggest year for the X-Men in terms of normie interest in decades, yet Marvel is squandering it by not really capitalizing on it. Just do 1 or 2 X-Men books with a lineup from the cartoon in it. Don't focus on making new characters from the first 3 years and build up your minor and underused villains and supporting casts. This doesn't have to be hard. My ideal X lineup would be Uncanny with a purely classic lineup. If Claremont's era had them on the team, then they're fair game. Maybe X-Force or X-Factor. Honestly, wouldn't launch a Wolverine solo for at least the first year of the mini line. Marvel's far too bloated in terms of output to be truly successful in this market right now. Have a good day." So, look, it's easy to just bash on something. I know it's easy because I do it all the time. Hey! But if you look at kind of this X lineup, there is a certain element of why, like, if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're doomed to repeat them kind of philosophy. It's like, why are you going down this path? You know this path is not going to work out. Like it's crystal clear that certain of these choices are a mistake. We've just left a period where there are just way too many comics in the line. And that period was literally the X-Men books. And we set a variety of miniseries that also never moved any kind of real needle. And yet it's like, all right, well, we're going to do the From the Ashes, and we're going to go back to kind of classic storytelling, and mutants are hated and feared, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like immediately we're going right back to the same stuff. And then on top of that, the status quo, part of what, the issue with the X-Men has been that, putting them all on Krakoa felt, like it was like, oh, they're just hanging out on an island all day, I guess. Like, and it's not that you have to put everything back in the mansion, but historically with the X-Men, when you've put them in an area, when you put them in a location and made that the forefront of kind of what's going on, it hasn't worked well. And you're talking to a guy who generally liked the Australia era of the X-Men. But even there, the premise was not, Australia was kind of they did very little that was Australia based. What I mean by that is, they weren't going off, and I don't think a single kangaroo appeared in anything in that comic. Maybe I'm wrong. Did they deal with kangaroos? Anyway, because they had the teleporter that could send them anywhere on the planet, they often went back to the U.S. or everywhere. The purpose of Australia was it was desolate, which was kind of reflected where the X-Men were at the time. They were nobodies. They'd been scrubbed from history. Everybody thought they were dead. So they went to kind of the middle of desolate nowhere and tried to kind of, do their mission from a distance and rebuild a little bit. But that was the idea. Now they're, in New Orleans, and this, like, when you make the status quo the biggest piece, the Wolverine announcement, he's going to be running up in Canada, retreated there. Like, it feels like a gimmick, where the gimmick again it does not seem like it's that hard. It is the X. I mean, you could even go with the X-Men flew too close to the sun, and they set themselves above everyone in the Krakoa era, and like the general, humanity doesn't necessarily hate mutants, but they're definitely pissed off at this being a constant fucking issue between the Eternals messing around them and the giant Sentinel robots blowing shit up everywhere, and like the humans are not necessarily anti-X-Men, but they are anti, like, why does this stuff keep having to interfere with our lives? Like, we just, like, goddamn it, we just want to, go to work and, try not to have our car AI, take over, transform into a giant robot, and then just start beating the shit out of some random mutant that showed up. Like, most people are annoyed. Like, that would be the perspective, I think, of a lot of the human NPCs. And how the world would think about the X-Men is just like trouble follows them. It's like they're not necessarily bad people, but fuck, there's always some dumbass thing that's like destroying planets in order to get to them. And, property values go down when the X-Men ban, kind of is the idea. That sounds definitely like a racist comment right there. But no, like, I mean, the idea is that if, normal humans wouldn't want to be close to any of this. For that matter, they wouldn't want to be close to the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, any of these superheroes. It would be an annoyance. And the thing with mutants would take on an extra annoyance because you've got, for whatever reason, Jackass is building mutant hunting sentinels to just go wipe everything out. And if you think about the size of those sentinels, I mean, they're giant, like 6-story robots flying around. When they come down to land, they're just going to F up the roads. You're going to have like horrible potholes. You're going to kick over buildings. It's just an annoyance. But anyway, I've gone off track. The status quo for the X-Men should be, they're feared because kids can be born, immediately blow their whole house up or light their children on fire, when they hit puberty, and that's the frustration with mutants. And so the X-Men are trying to kind of be heroes, but they're also mistrusted because they're dangerous. And they've got a bunch of villains who are out to just screw with them or harness their blood or clone them or whatever the hell the purpose is. And there you go. There's your status quo. I mean, you can just go there. This new line feels like they're trying way too hard. And it's, it also feels like they're trying to play to an audience that, that doesn't buy comics and, it is like the X-Men fandom on social media is insufferable. If you listen to them and you try and, give them what they want, it's all over the place. And then 9 times out of 10, I did a video on this a while back. You get somebody who's like, I'm not going to buy a comic. I'm going to pirate it because Marvel and Disney are supporters of Israel. So steal everything. So like you're playing to a group of people who are whack jobs, who do not buy your product and seem to enjoy just bizarre ass things. If you watched X-Men 97, there's a whole dialogue around Morph seemed to give Wolverine puppy dog eyes in the last episode or something. They're like, it's canon now. He's gay. But if you watch that, you're like, what? Is maybe? I mean, is he like, the funny part is if you take any sign of affection or friendship or camaraderie as canon proof a character is gay, then, you can fanfic your head all over the place. Captain America and Cyclops once shook hands and therefore, gay. And but these are the people a lot of these lineups feel like they're playing to. And it's so limiting. And again, the people they're playing to don't buy the comics in the first place, often think they're just nerdy, bait. So, you get to a point of like, what are we even doing here? And that's what the X-Men feels like. This relaunch, I mean, more power to it, but there's just so many things working against it. Gail Simone, some people like her teen books. I haven't, including when it was popular to like it. A lot of people like Gail Simone's Secret Six and some of their books. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't for me. I'm not the kind of person who's like, this woman is the worst writer in the world, needs to be run out of city on a train. Some styles just don't work. I still think Gail Simone's probably a smarter bet than throwing Jed MacKay on an X-Men book while he's simultaneously doing the Avengers, Doctor Strange. What the hell is it? Oh, Moon Knight, a big event like that. That's just, you're out of your mind to put MacKay on so many titles. That's a bad idea. And then you got Eve Ewing, who is a nice person. I mean, met her before, and she is nice, but you struggle to see how that's going to light up the sales. And then on top of that, we're going to throw in a Phoenix book and a Wolverine book, a Storm book, and a Dazzler book, and it's like, good God, like that. There's no way. I guess you got an X Factor book. You've got it, and the gimmicks. The gimmick should be an exciting comic with exciting storylines and things that are exciting. And instead, it's like, no, the gimmick here is that the mutants are influencers and they're weighing their TikTok followers. And it's like, thanks, Mark Russell. Like all this stuff, it just feels like they're steering into a limited series or a concept book where the concept should just be entertaining. And for what it's worth, like the Mill Rider Root, X-Men 97, not the most complicated shit in the world, but people seem to like it. You could just do that. Or at least keep it simple like that. You shouldn't lead with the concept. I don't know. I mean, people will buy it. They're going to relaunch for the number one. There'll be a bunch of variant covers. So it will be like 100,000 copies sold. And then Tom Brevoort will do a bunch of victory laps about how all the people on the internet said it was going to suck. And then look at this, it sold 100,000 copies. And you're like, okay, now it's issue number 4. What are we selling at now? Oh, we're down at 45,000. Okay, interesting. So that's my prediction here. This doesn't feel good. And when I say it doesn't feel good, I mean, I'm not talking about the quality of the work or anything else. The stories may be amazing, and I hope to God they are. But this approach, this kind of what feels like a very random, all over the place approach, that's the part that feels bad to me. That's the part that feels it's hard to get really behind it when it feels like we're going to vomit out, a dozen titles, and, we're going to really lay into the gimmick first before the actual plot of the story. We're going to have a writer on there who's an up-and-comer, but he's on every book Marvel publishes, apparently, and then some other people. Like, all of these things, it's just like, it's like somebody's drunk, and they're driving around in a parking garage, and the car keeps veering closer and closer to other cars. Eventually you're going to hear a loud metal crash as the whole thing collapses. But it's like, okay, I guess we're going to watch this train wreck because that's our car. We're all just ready for it. And what you want out of this comic is an excitement that this new relaunch is going to be something new and something cool. We can get behind it and have some rumors, talk about what's going to happen next. And that's going to be super exciting. That's what you hope for. But what we're getting feels a lot more like, all right, how's this going to fuck up? Anyway, thanks for listening.